What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another ranked Joust tier list. And today we have 11.8. 11.8. It's been out long enough for me to finally make a tier list on this. As per usual, I'm making a tier list every update that we have, every point one update, I suppose, that we have. So here we are with 11.8. There's been a lot of new changes. I can't remember exactly. One of them from 11.8 being Kumbha, and Curse Weaver buffed, and there's a couple other things. I think Mulan and Medusa got nerfed, so there are at least going to be some changes with the gods. So it shouldn't just all be the same old, except for the ones probably towards the bottom tier. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the tier list. If people don't know, I'm taking last tier list from 11.7 and just sort of changing it from top to bottom instead of making a whole new tier list. I think it's better just updating it from every tier list video. So starting off with Fafnir. So we don't mess this up again like I always do. But Fafnir still SS. Didn't he get a new buff or something? I can't remember. This man's always getting buffs. He at least got a buff in 11.7, I think, or if it was 11.8, I can't remember. But this man just keeps getting buffs. I always say either you play him or you ban him, because that's what you should be doing. I learned how to play him at a decent level, and before I didn't, because I didn't like playing him. He's pretty fun, but really, the only reason I started playing this guy was because he's fucking OP as shit. So he actually stays in SS. Serket staying in SS as well. One of the biggest things about her is just her mobility. I think she got a small buff in her 3, making it even a longer range for when you jump. But on top of that, Serket's OP in Joust, but she's not OP in Conquest, and so the odds of her getting nerfed are going to be really slim. In fact, she's probably likely to get a buff than a nerf, seeing as I don't think she's played all too much in Conquest. But yeah, this is another god you should always be banning. Ares, people may disagree with me, but I absolutely hate going up against Ares. He counters so many things. I mean, he counters Serket really badly. He sort of counters Fafnir as well, not as heavily. But he kind of counters like all the gods up at the top here. He's not the most mobile character or god, but I mean, if you hit your chains, you just can't do anything. And obviously his ult is the best beads burner, ult burner in the game, or one of the best, and so I think he's just automatically a SS ban. In fact, the first 3 bans that I've been doing, at least for 11.8, have been Fafnir, Serket, and Ares. Those are always my first 3 bans if they're not banned by the enemy team. Onto Medusa, I actually think the nerfs actually cucked her a little bit, enough to where she's not SS ban anymore. I think she's S. She's definitely, you're able to fight against her now. You're not just like getting demolished and not have any type of counterplay. Initially, she was just the most broken character ever since 9.5 because she already did damage beforehand, and she just kept doing damage and damage and damage until they nerfed her twice. Took her 2 nerfs, I believe, for her to finally get down to S. I still think she's really, really fucking good, but I'm not banning her as much, and not a lot of people are either. Although, to be fair, there are some people who are still banning her, but I don't think she needs to be banned as much. So I'm gonna put it down in S. Cerberus still SS. I'm usually banning him in the second phase if I haven't in the first phase. You know, if my enemy team or the enemy team doesn't ban any of these gods up here, then I'm waiting to the second half. If they ban these gods up here, then I'm banning Cerberus as well. He can get interrupted by a decent amount of characters via stuns, but the amount of damage he does if you play him correctly, the safety aspect, all the recent buffs to him, he just absolutely destroys anyone. He can destroy your protections with his 2. Now his 3 and his ult have a little gimmick thing where you ult and you 3 away, and you can bring him even further away, which is pretty cool as well. And honestly, I don't think enough people ban him, and so I think he's still going to be an SS. Uller is still going to be an SS, again, like I always say, the best god in the game, but one of the hardest to play. I could argue that he's an S just because nobody really plays him. But that I wouldn't feel good not putting him in SS for people who really want to get good with him, who don't realize his potential, I guess. So I'm going to keep him in SS just because He's just so fucking good. And he had a recent buff, I believe, too. I think scaling or damage. I can't remember what it was, but I remember he got a recent buff. Odin. I don't know how I feel about Odin. I'm gonna bring him in S. I don't think he's necessarily a ban. Maybe I was overzealous when I put him up in SS last patch. I think he's a good counter to like. He's very similar to Ares where he counters a lot of gods like Eshel, even up here. Eshel, Vulcan, Baron, you know, all these gods who are pretty immobile and they can't really jump out. So the team is forced to buy a shell if they want to have that safety with getting out of Odin's ult. So I think he's a very, very, very good pick. Top of S pick. I don't think he's SS. Although, again, I could be convinced. I did put him in my top 3 guys to carry your games out of with. And there's a reason why he's up here. He's really fucking good. Ever since they changed his kit with his 3, he just does a lot more DPS. Achilles is going to stay in S. I don't think he's an SS ban anymore. Ever since these gods are just so much better. It's more the fact that Achilles hasn't really gotten any buffs. Meanwhile, these gods, and a lot of these gods have as well, like really fucking big buffs to them, and so it kind of pushes Achilles out. But I do think that his ult's one of the best ults in the game for Joust. Super tanky, plays like an assassin, so I still think he's S. Same exact thing with Neja. I don't think he is bannable anymore. He can be in your low totem pool of, or low on the totem pole for your pool of gods that you want to ban. If you get like these bans already gone, you can think about Neja or Achilles, similar things with that. Because I will say he is super annoying to go up against, and as much as people don't think he's that good, I still think he's really fucking good. And he has one of the best setup in the game, especially if you pair it with like a Scylla or some shit. It's gross still. Cthulhu, I'm bringing back up to SS. His damage is crazy. Nothing really changes except for the fact that like Curse Weaver is now in the meta again. I'm sorry, Curse Weaver was really never in the meta. Curse Weaver is now in the meta because it's gotten buffed so heavily. Been seeing first item Curse Weaver, and you're super squishy when you build Curse Weaver, so you got to take that take an account of that. But with the 2.5 increase on your health and mana for the passive of Curse Weaver, the amount of health that you get sort of makes you tanky anyways, and in a weird way, because you're getting your health back. You're getting up to like 200 to 300 health back with Curse Weaver, and so buying it first item makes you do a lot more damage, and essentially just gives you infinite health. And so a lot of times guys that like Cthulhu take advantage of that really, really well, and that's one of the biggest things. And Cthulhu was already almost he was either top of S or SS ban. You can kind of make an argument for both, but I think Cthulhu you're probably banning a lot. I've been banning Cthulhu a lot more recently. So next up, Kuzenbo. Again, I think Kuzenbo is always in between S and SS, and that just depends on, really it's my opinion because this is my tier list, but I try to base it off of how everyone, or you know, watching other people's games and how they feel about it as well, because I could be I don't really care. To make it clear, I don't think Kuzenbo, whenever I play against Kuzenbo, I never have a problem with him. And that just may be because I'm going up against people who aren't really good with Kuzenbo or aren't at a high level of Kuzenbo, playability with Kuzenbo. But like, whenever I play against him, I never have that issue that other people have. And I've seen it. People like, even at like GM levels have it higher, and that's probably because they're going up against GMs. So personally, I would put him in S, but I do understand a high level Kuzenbo, if I were to go up against him, I would be like, yeah, okay, never mind. This guy needs to be banned. So with that being said, in my opinion, with the Kuzenbos I faced, not the craziest, but I do see why he would be in SS, because whenever I play him, I feel unstoppable. But he's always in between S and SS regardless, but I'd say Kuzenbo is probably one of your bans currently. Eshel's just gonna stay in S. Nothing's really much changed. Actually, no, she did get a nerf, but I don't think the nerf changes her that much. Otherwise, I would probably put her in low S if we were doing it that way. We're not doing it in that order, but I do think she's still very good. I think she got a nerf in her ult where she doesn't get mitigations anymore. She was very fucking good. But I still think she's S character. The amount of CC she has set up for Joust concerned is absolutely insane. Still bursts really well and is very safe as well too. Mulan still gonna stay here. Very similar to Medusa. I still think that she is still very fucking good, and I put her in my top 3, I believe, because I played her a decent amount after the changes, just to see, after the nerfs, to see how much of an impact it is. And you can feel it. You can definitely feel it, at least with her passive leveling up all of her abilities. It does take a lot longer, and so you're not getting that extra DPS scaling right away as you would normally when she wasn't, or pre-nerf. But with that being said, you still fucking chunk. You build Runeforge on her and you just one-shot squishy still. So definitely doesn't scale as quickly, but still think she's up there in your S. Persephone, nothing. I don't think she's ever gonna change an S unless they nerf her or something, or some other mage, just all the other mages get buffs and she doesn't. Super safe, does a lot of fucking damage, great setup. Yeah, not much. She's like one of the all having mages. CC immunity, getaway ability, easy to play, basically a lot of damage, super safe. So she's still staying in S. Same thing with Jing Chen. Jing Chen is probably one of your safest guardians that can go into any single team comp, outside of like comps maybe who are, I don't know, knock up immune, for example. But even still, I think he's always just a really good guardian to play. Ever since his buffs, he just doesn't die. CC immune ult, a lot of damage, surprisingly. People who play him aren't really surprised by it. People who don't play him will be surprised by how much damage he actually does, even though technically it's not in his kit. Super safe. He has 2 leaps in one ability, basically, so you can jump over a wall and jump back over that wall, technically. Super safe. Atlas, God, I want to put him in SS, but I'm going to keep him still in S. The amount of damage that I've seen him do recently, and it may have just been recency bias, is absolutely disgusting. I knew he did damage beforehand, but my God, he does so much damage, at least from this past patch with Curse Weaver too. So I'm going to keep him in S, but honestly, I could make an argument for SS. So much damage, so much potential, but most people know about him if you play or went up against an Atlas. Hachi, man, I don't see much like ever, man. I don't know how I feel about him. Honestly, I would put him, if there was an A+ tier, I'd put him in A. But because of that, I'm gonna put him just in regular A. I don't see him much anymore, and that doesn't necessarily mean that he's, you know, not as good anymore. But there are just better hunters to play right now, and so I think that pushes him down a little bit, just because they're safer, better hunters like Charybdis, for example. So I'd put him at A, but I mean, you can still play him. Very safe, does a lot of damage, CC immune ults, great mobility, so he's still very good. Vulcan, I'm gonna stay up here because a good Vulcan absolutely destroys. I haven't played Vulcan in a little bit, although I played him a couple times and he still fucking smacks. Actually, the last game I played, I think I went up against a trio stag. Did pretty well there. And no, actually, short story, I went up against a Fenrir, Scylla. No, I'm sorry, a Fenrir. No, it was, yeah, Fenrir, Scylla, and Achilles. And Fenrir kind of fucks Vulcan. Achilles kind of fucks Vulcan, and I mean Fenrir ult into Scylla ult, all that just absolutely destroys Vulcan. Vulcan doesn't have a CC immune ult, so you get his beads, he's kind of fucked. And I still smacked him, or well, we smacked him. So he still feels really good. So I'm gonna keep him in S. Shablanque, I'm gonna put him in A as well. I don't think he's doing as much. I think he's still a very good god, and I don't really like seeing him that much, especially late game Shablanque. But currently, I think there are better hunters right now that are way safer than they are and do more damage than them. And so I'm going to keep them in A. Maybe I should start putting A pluses here. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if maybe you guys want A pluses, but I put them in A plus if there was. Kukulkan, I'm going to keep in S. I still think he does what he does. He got nerfs a little while ago. I think 11.6 or something. But I still think he does a lot of damage. Pridwin, Erendite, Phoenix Shield. Phoenix Shield is still a very busted item and works really well in Kukulkan. Baron, I'm going to keep up here as well. Like I said, I think I'm going to put a Baron video out after this video. But Baron is still does a lot of damage. Hybrid, can go tanky as well. If you want to go full damage and you have like a really good front line, super good. Nothing really changes with him. I absolutely hate going up against a Baron. AMC. I'm gonna put AMC in A as well. Feels weird, doesn't it? I really need to get an A plus. I still think AMC is very good and super safe. I don't think he's as good as Marty. I just don't see him as much. And then also, I played up against him a couple times, and there was a Masters board AMC. Now, that doesn't mean too much of anything, but he just got absolutely demolished, and that's just because dive team comps, especially with Curse Weaver, just kind of fuck him over. So I'd still say he's like an all right, good, solid god, but not as impactful. Marty, though, I still want to keep an S. This man is absolutely gross still. I played him. Nobody really plays him a lot, but he's the safest hunter in the game, I think, right now. Outside of maybe one, maybe like Charybdis. But he still does a lot of fucking damage. I'm going to be posting a Marty video as well. And oh my god, he just does so much damage, so safe with his clear. And he's just better. He's basically just a better AMC. Bach is similar, going to be never going to get out of S. What was it? The only thing he doesn't have is a CC immune ult, but he's got a flop, getaway, knock immune in his 3, burp, great setup, utilizes Curse Weaver really well as well. So he's just gonna stay up here. Same with Kumbhakarna. He got buffed recently. Obviously he still has those issues that he has, not being able to be or not CC immunity, not CC immune in his ult, and then him being sort of not having great mobility. But I do believe he's still really good, especially in your double tank. E-set. Not putting up there, Jesus. Where do I want to put E-set? I still think nobody plays this guy, but again, that doesn't mean anything. This guy is so fucking good, man. Like, she actually kind of fucks Fafnir. I was playing Fafnir against the E-set. You have to time it. If the E-set plays correctly, you kind of get fucked. Because what's going to happen is that if you're going to want to try and dive the E-set, she's just going to silence you and then use her ball and stun you. And then obviously she has her ult, and so you're not going to be able to burst her because she's going to heal. So she actually fucks a lot of these gods up here too. She's just, nobody really plays her, and she is kind of hard to play in terms of, you know, hitting your abilities. But like if you're pretty solid with her, I feel like I still think she's S. I don't give a fuck. She's staying in S. Ganesh, I think's probably... Man, I don't know how I feel about Ganesh. I'm gonna bring him down. I think he's still very good. He just does what he does best. I don't think he's as great in the double team comp, although he's still very good. But comparing it to other gods who have a better double tank team comp with Ganesh, I think is better, and so that's why I'm gonna bring him down. I think he's better in your solo team comp, your double backline team comp. But with that all being said, he's still very good because he does counter a lot of gods with his silence. But I'm going to bring him down an A. Herc, I'm going to keep an S. I hate going up against Hercules. It might be a bias of mine. So I could see someone saying, actually, I think he's probably just A. And I would probably agree. But personally, I just don't think... I hate going up against this god. I went up against... inactivations Hercules. That was awesome. So, you know, I guess it really depends on who's playing the Herc, who's piloting the Herc. I guess that's just with every single god, but I don't know, man. Hercules just pisses me off and I hate him, so I'm gonna bring him in S. Morgan Le Fay is probably one of the best mages right now. I'm gonna keep her in S. With the healing changes and everything, she's still up here. I think nothing really has changed with her. They actually had to get rid of her. I think they had to they stopped her, or they banned her or whatever. I don't know if she's back or not. I haven't played in a few days, but she's still up there. Sun Wukong is up here as well. I'm trying to think. I really wanted to put him in my top 3 video. I was thinking about putting him in my top 3 video, but I didn't. Because I think, I don't remember. Actually, my top 3 video I did Mulan, Kumbhakarna as an honorable mention, Shiva, and then I don't remember who my other warrior was. Is it up here? Am I tripping? Well, now we're gonna have to figure it out, because it was Shiva. Oh, Odin's up here. Yeah, as you can see, they're all in S's in my opinion. And same thing with Sun Wukong. I think he's the safest warrior right now, one of the safest warriors, and does a lot of fucking damage and can backline very easily. So he's really good in the double tank. Has great setup, great use of Rune Forge as well, in my opinion. He just has everything. He's got your safety factor. If I were to compare him to anybody, I'd probably compare him to like Jing Chen, being almost good in every single team comp, super safe, a lot of damage, and decent amount of setup. Not as great setup as Jing Chen, but regardless, I think he's a warrior. He's not going to have as great setup as a guardian, most likely. So I think Sun Wukong's still an S. Rajan's still an S as well. He's probably one of your premier mages. I was actually thinking about putting him in my top 3 as well, but there were a lot of mages to choose from compared to warriors. If I were to make a top 5, going back to Sun Wukong, I'd probably put Sun Wukong as 4, and I'd probably put Rajan in that top 5 as well, because he just does so much damage, and nobody really plays him either, but he's super fucking good. So he's staying in S. Same thing with Terra. CC is great. She's gotten a lot better, and more people are playing her, and she does a lot of damage. If you can hit her abilities, she does fantastic work for your team in terms of setting up and shit like that. Healing as well. Hun Batz is in my top 3. Hun Batz has one of the highest assassin win rates. I mean, this guy can do it all. More people need to start playing him. He's not hard to play at all. He recently got a buff in his 3 and his ult. Super safe. And you can build him sort of that hybrid way, very similar to like a Circuit. Blink into the backline, ult. He just had the best ults in the game, one of the best ults in the game. You get CC, or I mean, you get beads off people, you blink, ult, and you can just leap out. It's just as simple as that, and people need to start playing him because he's so fucking good. Chiron similarly as well, he's just not going to change here either. S does so much fucking damage, super safe, similar to Marty as well, in terms of, you know, having CC immune ult, safety. He's not as safe as Marty in my opinion, because his 3 can get interrupted, whereas Marty can just ult away, but still very safe. And his 1 cleanses, so you can actually peel for his team as well. Charybdis is going to be your new best hunter in my opinion. Ever since they changed her kit, and it was a little while ago, and she still hasn't been nerfed. At least I don't think. She is now CC immune in her 3 as soon as you click it, which basically made her clunkiness so much better. Her ult's a lot less clunky as well, and then the hunter items like Hasten Fatalis just suits her better than most hunters in my opinion. You know, pair her 1 with your Hasten Fatalis, you just absolutely shred. I can't tell you how many times I've gone up against a Charybdis and realized like, oh, I can fight her. Oh wait, no, the fuck, I can't fight her. I just fucking die. There's been several times where I'm like, I die, and I'm like, wait, I die there? I never die there in any other hunter. And yeah, it's a Charybdis. Nobody really bans her a lot, but she's fucking good. So she's gonna be an SS. Where are we at? Yu Huang in my top 3, safest mages in the game, does a lot of fucking damage. His ult's not as clunky anymore, and has 3 sets of beads basically if you buy beads. Ult has a CC immunity, 3 has CC immunity, and if you buy beads, you have CC immunity. So you have 3 different forms of CC. So he's like almost impossible to dive, because you're just gonna get ulted away, 3'd away, beads away, and you're just never gonna be able to dive him. I hate going up against Yu Huang because he's so good. Lancelot, I'm gonna keep an S as well. I believe I put him on my top 3. I almost didn't. I almost put like Neja on number 3, but I changed my mind because, you know, Neja gets banned all the time, and so I don't think she really. I don't know. Lancelot. I still think Lancelot is S. Oh my god, he just doesn't get played a lot. I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe because nobody really likes him, but I don't think really much has changed with him. He plays literally like a warrior and has that mobility aspect of an assassin, so like he does a lot of damage with like Phoenix Shield and shit. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure why people aren't playing him, but he's super good right now. Danza, I'm gonna bring down to A. Why is Danza A? I don't think much has changed with him outside of maybe ability based hunters not being as good, and so like Danza not being able to take advantage of that build versus the AA hunter build that's currently just better in the meta right now. He's not able to take advantage of that, and so I think not a lot of people are playing him, and because he's just not as good, and therefore I think he's an A. On her, I'm gonna keep an S. I still think he is very fucking good. He's just a little bit harder to play. I put him in my honorable mentions because he is a little bit harder to play than other hunters, but I still think he's S. Very safe hunter, does so much damage, and once he gets snowballing, oh my god, it's almost impossible to lose with on her. Oh my god, Hoi. I want to put him in SS so badly because of how many buffs he's been getting. He recently got another buff, if you guys don't know. He got reduction on all of his abilities except his ult, I think, by like however many seconds. So his one is up on, but he's just getting so many buffs. It's going to get to a point where I think he's probably going to reach S. And with that, I'm going to put him like high S, even though we're not doing it like that. I still think he's like high S, borderline SS. Baba Yaga, I'm going to bring down to A. I still think she's very good. But the fact that literally nobody fucking plays this god, that just kind of showcases that there are better mages to play. And on top of the fact, maybe it's just her kit. Nobody likes playing her. She is a little bit clunky as much as I like playing her all the time. So I'm going to bring her finally down to A, as much as it hurts me because I do like playing Baba. She's just not, just never gets played. Nothing really changes with her. I still think like you can argue she's S, but nobody really plays her. And that doesn't necessarily mean that she's bad, but I know that, but they're just, I gotta admit, there are just better mages right now. Chalk, I still want to keep an S. This fucking god, it's just like low S. He's been getting buffed after buff and nobody really plays him a lot. I think he really should get played. You go like either mid guardian or frostbound hammer and you're going up against a hunter, you absolutely just shut them down. The potential this god has is absolutely insane. You just got to position correctly, which is why I say that Chalk is a very easy god to play, like super simple. The most, rudimentary god in the game. However, that doesn't mean that his skill ceiling is still up there because of the positioning that he has. He doesn't really necessarily have the best getaway outside of his 1-2 and his ult. But if you use your 1 in a situation where you're like, oh, I'm gonna throw my ult or my axe at them. Well, now you don't really have a getaway because if you're throwing your axe towards them, that means you can't teleport away. So if you're gonna throw out your axe, you gotta make sure that you're in a position where you don't get collided on, because if you have to teleport into them, you're just fucked. If that made sense at all. My point being is that his positioning can be a very high skill ceiling. But either way, there's so much damage. So I still think he's an S. Geb staying an S. I can't believe this god. I can't believe it. This god is does so much damage still. His 3's crazy. I actually just hate going up against him. Like every time I see Geb, I just don't like it. I'm like, fuck, dude, this god, it's just so annoying. Because he does a lot of fucking damage. It's not even that. It's just like his setup is crazy. And then he has his 3, which just helps his team. I fucking hate it. So he's an S. Same with Yorm. Yorm actually does a lot of fucking damage going into the new Curse Weaver, and I can't remember. I always forget the item. Let me go figure it out. Gem of Isolation. That's the item. If you don't know already, Jormungandr has slow in his 1. Pair that with Gem of Isolation, you just can't move at all. So Curse Weaver, Gem of Isolation absolutely fucks. Then you go Rest Tank, and he does so much damage. People, I don't know, and he recently got a buff too in his passive with his autos. Does a lot of damage, and he can keep like recycling it. So I still think he's S. Horus, I'm gonna bring down to A. Not really been seeing much of. I haven't been seeing much of him. That's the problem. I think he gets absolutely cucked by gods like Shiva and Kumbhakarna, for example. He can be targeted in his dash. I still think he's very good, but with a lot of the other gods being better and also kind of countering him, I think that he's just not as good. And so I'll put him in A. Ardio, I'm gonna bring down to A. They nerfed her in her 1, and Phoenix Shield. Still very good on her. She surprisingly doesn't do a lot. She does a decent amount of damage. But every time I play her at the end of it, I look at at the end, I'm just like, oh, I didn't actually do as much damage as I thought. Regardless, she's just not as good ever since they reverted her shit for some reason. And we're deciding not to nerf Phoenix Shield, which is the obvious problem. Set I'm gonna bring down to A, I think. He got a buff, I think. I don't think it did too much. I don't see him a lot. I still think he's very good. He can get CC'd to high hell, and so I have seen a couple of sets play against the double tank, and it's just not really good. I put him in S last time because I thought the buffs were decent. So I saw him a couple times in a few games do a lot, but not crazy. I'm gonna put him in A. Still a very good god though. Freya got nerfed, so she's not as good. And so I think she's probably just gonna stay in your A. Hasten Fatalis is still very good on her, but she did get nerfed, so I think that brings her down to A. Thoth staying in A, super counterable still. I never really thought, like, I knew he was obviously really good, and so I put him at the SSS, and maybe that was my mistake back like a few updates ago or tier lists ago. And that's probably my mistake because honestly, I don't mind going up against a Thoth. Obviously, a very good Thoth is scary, but like generally speaking, a Thoth is, I'd rather see a Thoth than like a E-Shell, E-Set, or you know, Yu Huang, for example. Scylla staying here as well, although I will say, recently with the Archmage's Gem, nobody's really, I don't know if a lot of people have been using it, but I think Archmage's Gem on Scylla, seeing as your Scylla uses Conduit Gem really well because of her clear early, that she can kind of abuse the Archmage's Gem. Or if you don't know, I think Archmage's went up from like 85 power to 120. This shit was ridiculous. So I think Scylla's still probably A, but we'll see with the Archmage's Gem tech. She's probably the only one that really abuses that well. I'm gonna keep her in A. Discordia goes up to S. People, I think somebody asked me like, why Discordia in A? And I just didn't think she was as good as the other mages when it came down to it. But she got a buff, fairly big buff too, in her 3, allowing her ult to get. So if you don't know, you use her 3 and you stay in their little 3 pool. It does reduce your abilities cooldown, and it didn't affect your ult, but now it does. And with you being able to cycle your ult over and over and over and over again in your 3, also I think the leap range of her 3 got a little bit bigger as well too, so she's even safer. Yeah, I'll say that pushes her up to S. I do think she's super fucking good, and she obviously does so much damage anyways. That wasn't even a question, but those buffs definitely pushed her up to S in my opinion. Erlong I'm gonna keep an A. No, don't see him a lot. A lot of the AA warriors aren't really in the meta per se. I still think they're, you know, fine or whatever, but nothing really changes. And he got a buff in his 3 a couple patches ago, giving back the knock-up. It's kind of showing that the knock-up wasn't really all that big of a deal, at least in terms of Joust. But, you know, maybe he'll pop up in the meta here soon. Cupid, I'm going to keep an A. I think he's a solid god. They've been buffing and buffing him to where I think he's still in your solid A's. All these other hunters, though, do his job a little bit better, in my opinion. Bastet as well. Still think she's probably your A average god. A little bit above average, which is what A is, so that's my bad. But, like, you know, I don't really see her much. She doesn't do too much to tanks. She mostly thrives in your double backline comp. But, you know, right now she's probably an A. Zhong or Donger got at least, I think, recent nerfs. I can't remember if it was 11.6 or 7. It wasn't 8, I don't believe. But he's still an A. Those nerfs brought him down a little bit. Still think he's very solid. Like, I've seen some games. People who know how to pilot Zhong are scary still. Camazot's staying here. Better in the back line. Still okay. Nothing's really changed with him either. Agni, nothing's really changed with him either. Still a very solid god. He still can be easily countered by gods like Odin and Kumbhakarna. So there's that. Charon's still here. There's just other guardians that do what Charon does better. Although, to be fair, Curse Weaver is in the meta, so we'll see how that affects him. But as I've been seeing, other gods like Cthulhu and Kuzumbo use Curse Weaver just a little bit better. Cuckoo, very safe mage, still going to be in your A. I still hate going up against this god, but I don't really mind it much right now. He just doesn't do much. He's super easy to counter with all these other gods up here. Ravana, I've been seeing a decent amount. He's probably a little bit. The fact I'd put him probably an A plus if there was available, or if I had that here. Maybe I really need to add that. I'll add that next tier list, I promise. Ravana, I still think I put him in A plus. I think he's better than most of these other assassins here, so it's not really. I don't think it's as good to say he's in the same tier. So I'm gonna bring him up higher, even though I'm not doing it that way. But you know. He's sort of plays like a warrior. I think he was a warrior beforehand, and so he still has that warrior mentality, doing a lot of damage while also being tanky. He can build items like Phoenix Shield and get more value out of it than any of these other assassins. So I say he's a little bit better than a lot of your other assassins. I put him in A plus if I bought that here. Sobek's still going to be an A. He has great potential, but if you miss one pluck, you're kind of fucked, or you have to use your ult. I always say it all the time when I talk about Sobek. He's just not able to get in and out like he used to, just because he just gets shredded with these new type of team comps. I mean, imagine if you try to pluck, you miss your pluck, and you run into a fucking Circuit Fafnir. You're dead, buddy. Or you have to use your ult. Tiamat still an A. I've been playing with a couple Tiamats, or I solo queued into some Tiamats, and Tiamat does a decent amount of damage still. So I'd still keep him an A. Her an A, but again, Tablet being like part of her build, she doesn't get all that many stacks with just being a pretty short game mode now. Thor, nobody fucking plays Thor, but I still think he's really good. Obviously better than double tank or double backline, whether that's, you know, mage and hunter or mage and assassin that builds damagey. So I still say he's an A, very similar to a warrior. I think he's better warrior than, you know, gods like Bastet or Camazotz, for example, so I'll put him up here. Nike, still, I put her probably an A plus as well. I think she's very good, super safe. She kind of gets fucked, which is why she doesn't bring in. I don't put her in S. She kind of gets fucked by Sunner and Horrific. And I don't think she's S worthy, but she's definitely very good. Osiris, I'm gonna keep here as well. Nothing really changes. I think he's probably he's probably better than Erlong, so I'll put him up here for whatever reason. But I do think he's better than Erlong, just because he can go into that ability-based type of gameplay build thing. Same thing with Athena. Athena is just going to be an A because I think she's better in your double backline. Ama, similarly with Bologna, it's just going to stay in A. Nothing really much changes with AA warriors. A lot of the AA warriors aren't as good right now compared to your ability base, and that's just because nothing's really changed for them. Artemis, I think I'd put an A plus. I think she's very good. Although I will say that with recent rune or nerfs to Shifter Shield, she's not as good. Even though I think Shifter Shield is still very fucking good. It's just a little less bang for your buck because it costs 2,500, and the amount of stats you got aren't as crazy as they aren't as crazy as they were back then. Yes, that's what I was trying to say. Gilgamesh, I think, is probably a little bit better than like your Amas, Bolognas, and Erlongs, because he can go into that mixed build where you can go hybrid auto attack or ability based, or you can just go full ability based or just full AA. So I still think he's a little bit better than them, but nothing crazy has changed. Maui, same thing. Maui keeps getting buffs, bro. I'm gonna put Maui in like A plus or some shit. This man does a lot, and he's super tanky, super safe, a little less clunky than he used to be. His one is crazy now, so probably put him in A plus. New Wa, I still think is an A. My god, her fucking stone minion or clay minions or whatever. I actually hate going up against New Wa, especially early in the game, because her fucking clay minions do like 350 damage, and they just keep fucking it. They just stick to you, and then as soon as you kill them, she's like, nope, I got them. Back up, have them again. I'm just like, ah, great. I wish I had a hunter right now just to fucking burn through them, because they're just so fucking annoying. But they do so much fucking damage. I still think she's an A. Same thing with Merlin. Once you get late game with Merlin, probably one of the best mages in the game. Middle and earlier in the game, not so much. So I'm gonna put him in the balance of A. Neith, very similar to a lot of your other ability-based gods, but just not as safe. Even AMC is a lot better. Guan Yu, nothing crazy with him. I think he has a lot of potential at a high level, but generally speaking, he's just not. He's super predictable, super counterable. Nothing much with him. Doesn't do as much damage as like a god like Cerberus. I mean, you can kind of imagine him like Cerberus, just not as good, obviously. Bellona, same thing. Nothing crazy has changed with her. Kernanos, he did get buffed. Don't see him a lot still. Doesn't mean anything, but still, I still think he's an A. Just a lot of other hunters doing better. Kronos, same thing. I think he's got a lot of potential. He's better in duel, obviously, but I still think he has a lot of potential. But you need to have a really good Kronos to play him, because if you miss some of your abilities, it kind of fucks him over. And I think he's more better as your hybrid AA and ability based mage. I don't think he's a good straight ADC. Ram, I'm going to stay in A because I think he's a very solid hunter. Has a lot of potential with his ult 3. Shit like that. Soul, I'm probably going to bring her down to B. Nothing crazy. In fact, I'm probably going to bring Kronos down to B as well. That's my bad. Nothing's really much changed with them, but I think that's the problem, is that they were probably barely hanging on to A just because of the you know, hastened, and I believe some of the other buffs, like Typhon's Fang got a buff, I think, or no, Bancroft's Town and Bancroft's Town, the upgraded one that gives you auto attack, extra auto attack for power, I believe. They just haven't been doing much. I don't really think I care about any of them when I go up against them. Surtur, I'm gonna bring down to B. Still nothing crazy. Thought he had better potential. Just hasn't been the case. Tyr, I'm gonna leave here. He does still have potential, and you know, items like Phoenix Shield probably benefit him more. Same thing with King Arthur. King Arthur is very similar. I still think he's an A, even though they nerfed him a little bit. I still think he's hanging on by the hairs of his chinny chin chin in A, but I still think he's pretty solid still with Field of Phoenix. Shield of Phoenix. Shield of, what did I say? Field of Phoenix? Nice. Oleron, similarly to that, to these gods, still gonna stay here. Scotty, nothing crazy with her, still in that B. She has some play if you build a team around her. Other than that, she kind of blows. Chang'e, I did not mean to inspect element. Chang'e, yeah, I'm gonna keep her in B. As much as I like playing her, she's gotten nerfed a lot, and sorry, I was reading a message. I don't know what I was saying. Sorry, I hate. This is why I don't look at my phone. I'm gonna put that away. Yeah, so Chang'e, I think she's gotten nerfed. I think she's still very good in Conquest. And again, she's not very good in your double tank. She just doesn't kill them. She gets absolutely butt fucked if you ever pick her into tanks. And so I don't think she's all that great. Zeus, I'm bringing down to S or C. Yeah, I'm bringing him up to S. He's the goated. Nah, he's in C. He just B is barely hanging on to B. He absolutely fucking blows cock. He just doesn't do anything. He even, like, you build a team around him, he blows dick. Not good at all. He's super predictable too. If you play it long enough and you're like a new player and you're like watching this video and you know thinking Zeus is so fucking good because amount of damage, just start playing more and you'll realize how much ass he sucks because he's so predictable. Whenever he throws down his shield, you just walk away. And then you don't get hit by it, he's on cooldown and he can't use his 3 on you. And he just gets dived and he dies. Like that's literally all it is. Now Smite 2 Zeus, on the other hand, where you get stunned in his 3, now that might be something worth of something. But I still, no, he's just dog shit right now. Aphrodite, I'm gonna keep him B. I will say though, a high level Aphrodite is so fucking annoying because there are cheese tactics you can do. Like you can build a Rod of Asclepius, and even though you're getting anti-healed, you're still getting your healing increased regardless. On top of that, if you play a very tanky Aphrodite, which you should almost always do, you just play from a back and just save your team while they go in. It's just so fucking annoying. On top of that, if you guys skirmish, you guys both back up a little bit, they heal up, they're at full health, and you're still over here fucking like, well, god damn it, I'm still, somewhat low. So I will say she can get played really. She can be really fucking annoying and really fucking good at high levels, but generally speaking, not very great. Same thing with Vimana. I don't think Vimana does much of anything either. He just dies in his ult. He recently got a buff too, and he just dies. He doesn't do what he used to do, which is fine by me, so I'm gonna keep him in B, but he does have some potential. Hera, not good at all. Not really great. Sort of mid. Pretty mid. Why she's in B? I don't really know. She's gotten buffed over time, but I think it may just be her kit, because she does damage. It's just that in terms of Joust, first of all these other mages are better. But second of all, she's not safe. She can get backline. Ao Kuang, I think, has good potential, but the more higher you go up in your ranks, like once you're around that master's level, you start to realize how much he falls off. Right around that gold plat, and even a little bit in low diamond, he's pretty solid. But after that, once you get to masters, I can tell you he just does not do it. Chernobog, I'm gonna keep him B. Generally speaking, not that great. Put this in the hands of a really good ADC though, and he smacks, I will say. But generally speaking, you got to play a really good Cherno. Fenrir, not really good. Hasn't really gotten buffs. While every other god has gotten buffs, he's kind of been left behind. So outside of like certain counters, he's just not that great. Heimdall, one of the best gods in the game if you play him at a high level, but nobody really plays him at that high level. And even still at that high level, he still can get fucked. So I think Heimdall is going to stay around at this B level. Same thing with Yanis, does a lot of damage. Play him at high level, one of the best gods in the game. But nobody really plays him at that high level, so he's just not as good. You can, there's a lot of damage, and you can like escape really well if you use his kit properly, but not a lot of people do. Jing Wei, she's kind of one of those guys you got to get to late game because of her safety aspect. So if you die a couple times, it's fine. But after that, not really, that's all she's got. She's not really good. Tank Merc can be somewhat interesting, but outside of that, he's dog shit. So Merc's staying around that B. Nem, similarly, you'll see that most of these guys down here are Stan because it's just in Joust, there's just certain gods that kind of stay at the bottom just because of how Joust is played. Nem is one of those gods as well. Poseidon just gets ganked too easily. Same thing with Ra. I kind of see them in a very similar view. Rat can go semi-tanky, so he can go that tanky assassin build, but still, a lot of other assassins do it better. Sylvanas just kind of blows dick, because you kind of have to hit your abilities. If you don't, then he kind of sucks. Meaning, you have to hit your grab. Otherwise, he just doesn't do much. And he's super not mobile at all. Tsukiyomi's not that great either. Played at a high level. I've seen him do some shit, but not really crazy. Ymir is immobile as fuck. If you play a really good Ymir, you can do some things with him. But he's got his blink, ult, and wall, and that's it. He doesn't have an escape. Hebo just fucking dies. Loki is cringe as fuck, but he's one of those gods that aren't necessarily that great at all, played in regular hands, but if you're like a Loki man, you can do some things with Loki. Bake just blows cock, especially in the double tank. Double backline, he might be a lot better, and I think he is a lot better, but in the double backline, or in double tank, he just doesn't die, or just doesn't do any damage, and he's just there, just fucking wailing around, just fucking autoing, doing no damage to tanks, autoing, and he doesn't have that great setup or anything like that. Same thing with Hel. I think she's probably better in the double backline, although she can go somewhat like hybrid-ish with the changes to her back in season 10. But still not that great. Nut, all the other hunters do better. I already talked about Zeus. Susano, very similar, just super niche gameplay, just only good in just certain team comps. Same thing with Daji. If you have guys that don't have a lot of CC immunity in their ults, you can play her, or counter Thoth, for example. Alpwash just gets dived and dies. Arachne, you have to build her tanky. I've seen her pop off sometimes, but you have to get close to the enemy, and if you're going up against any of these other gods up here, good fucking luck. Oelix is pretty only good against gods like Hou Yi to counter, and even then, I don't think you really want to build a Oelix or play a Oelix just for the Hou Yi counter. There are a lot of other gods that can counter Hou Yi a lot better up here than Oelix. Baka's pretty cool. He got a buff. You know what? I'm gonna put Baka. No, I'm gonna put him in B, but I'm gonna be honest. The changes to Baka don't do much to him. I do find him a lot more fun than these, so I would put him at like top C. because he can go tanky, you know, breastplate of regrowth, all that other type of jazz, shoguns, berserker shield, phalanx, kins, shit like that, but not really good. Kleena, same thing, nothing crazy. Izanami, really bad hunter. All these hunters are better. Kali, I'm gonna put in B because I do think Kali at the end, at late game wins games a lot better than Jing Wei, for example. So I'll put her in B. But other than that, you're gonna blink, stun, and then burst, and then ult and try to run away because that's all you really can do. You tank towers and your ult, you can do that as well, but that's all she does basically. And then once you get late game, then you just lose if you don't, you know, stun her. A lot of CC can kind of destroy her though, so that being stuns and stuff like that. Kumba, oh baby, we finally get to the Kumba. Oh my god, is this one of the biggest fucking climbs from dog shit tier to fucking S? I don't think he's quite SS. He's close, but I definitely think he is S. Oh my god, did that man need it? Went from C to S. That's one of the biggest climbs I think I've had in a while. So let's talk about him. 11.8 recently he's changed his entire fucking kit. It was like a whole page worth of fucking Kumba changes. Passive got buffed. 2 now is, I believe, a little bit shorter in terms of the root, but is immune to diminishing returns. So you're always going to have that, I believe, 1.5 second root every single time, and it doesn't affect diminishing returns. 3 now does damage if you 3 them and you hit them before they get before the entire duration of his mez is going. So that does everything, or that's a new thing. He does a lot more damage. Actually, let's just bring it up because I can't remember all the changes. They did a fuck ton to him. Okay. Yeah, they increased his base physical protections by 2. He cleaves now. He fucking cleaves. I can't tell you how small of a change that is, of how impactful it is. You can do buffs now by yourself, which is crazy. His passive increased revival health for mana by 5%. And now when it's on cooldown, he just gets HP 5 just because. His 1 now has decreased mana and has a decreased cooldown by 1, so his 1's coming up a lot sooner. Groggy Strike has no DR, like I said, and is 1.5 at all ranks. Mighty Yawn does damage now when Mez is broken. His Mez duration is a little bit shorter by 0.5 seconds overall. Decreased slow from 40% at all ranks to, and now it goes from 20 to 40. So there is like a little bit of balancing between his 3 because of how much damage, or now that it has damage. And it does a decent amount of damage too. So it's not like that's not like a chump change in terms of damage. And you know, attack speed slow to balance it. They nerfed it a little bit. Mana cost is at 50 at all ranks now too. And his ult got reduced by 5 seconds. My god, and just all those changes made him S. Isn't that shit crazy? Yeah, I did want to put him on my top 3 Guardians, but there's so many Guardians in there that I could have put him in honorable mention if I wanted to, but there's just so many good Guardians right now. I think Guardians are probably the best class in Joust. So with that being said, Kumba, if you're not playing him, you should be. And low-key could be a ban depending on what comp you want to go up, or you know who you're going up against, maybe if you know who you're going up against, or depending on what comp you have, Kumba might get fucked over by. But there's Kumba. Nox, dog shit. Pele. All right, let's talk about Nox. Nox is dog shit, but the reason why she's dog shit uses her 2-1, and if you miss it, she sucks. Pele, definitely not really good in double tank. She is one of those gods that suicides, but usually gets a kill. In Joust, you have to play correctly in order to get that type of thing, that same effect of ulting, getting a kill, and dying. A lot of the time you won't. You'll ult and die. Thanatos, similarly, not great at all. Morrigan, super high skill ceiling. She's a super hard god to play, which is probably why she's in C. Nobody really plays her. But if you do play a good Morrigan, she can do a lot of fucking things. Nubis is just bad. He just gets destroyed. Stays in his own spot too long. Paulo, one of your worst hunters in my opinion. Hades got a recent buff, so I'll put him in C. Still not the greatest, but he got a decent amount of damage change. So I'll put him in C. Caffrey sucks. Yamoja, one of the worst win rates. And Mama and Brigitte, dog water. Don't think I need to talk about those ones too much. But there you go. Here are your top bands. A little bit of changes here. We got, what is it? Kuzenbo is up here again, although it's kind of changes back and forth a lot on Cryptus. And actually, let's just go ahead and I'm going to pause it here and take a look at the old tier list and just compare them like I usually do. Right. Here is your 11.7 tier list on the left and your new tier list, 11.8 on the right. It's a little cut off here because I tried to just screenshot it. I don't know the best way to compare it on the same screen, but here you are. Nothing too much has changed. You still got your Fafnir, Serket, Ares, Cerberus, Uller, but Charybdis, Kuzenbo, Cthulhu are now up here while Medusa is down a little bit. One of the biggest changes being Kumbha. But as far as your S's go, a lot of them don't change. Medusa is one of the bigger ones that changed here. Did we talk about Shiva? I don't remember, but I think Shiva is still... I almost want to put him in SS, but I still think he's still S. I don't... That's not the only one I missed. I think I might have missed Shiva, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, nothing too much changes in S. Not too much changes in A, B, C, or D. Just your mainly biggest things are your SS, S's, and some of your A's. Yeah, I said Kumbha being your biggest one here. But generally speaking, the gods that are usually at your top are going to probably stay at the top unless something crazy happens, like Kumbha. And then obviously your bottom dwellers are going to stay there as well. Not too much happens for Joust in terms of that, but that is your tier list. We're going to go ahead and zoom in on this. There we go. There is your tier list for 11.8. Getting close to the end. Smite 2 is coming out soon, so we'll see how many more of these tier lists we have left. But that is everything for me. If you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. If I may have missed anything or think you have any suggestions or anything like that, or you think I'm just flat out wrong, let me know in the comment section down below. Discord is open in the description down below if you'd like to join. Great community, one of the best ways to contact and reach me, besides YouTube comments. Memberships are open if you like to support me. One of the best ways to support me, if you do like my content, but obviously not mandatory, as you simply watching my videos is good enough for me. But that is everything that I have for you. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching.